Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time it is a rant on the 2017 comedy, and I honestly I really would like to put comedy in air quotes, because this film wasn't funny at all. Uh, I had been waiting to do this video for a while. I just didn't get around to doing it because there were other things that came up, and there were other films I honestly would have rather talked about than Rough Night. But I'm working on finishing up all these reviews of films that I've either seen or even bothered to do a review of. I was kind of leaning towards maybe not doing a video on this, but then I was like, this is the worst, shittiest, most unfunny, and excruciatingly terrible comedies that I had seen from 2017. So I knew that I had to do a video about it sometime. And then I did the requests month, or which is going to be request months because there's going to be a lot of requests I'm going to get to. Trust me, I'm still going to get to them. And one of them was Rough Night, which was requested by a YouTuber named Drew Michelle or Mike McKell. His last name I don't. You can correct me if I'm saying it right or not. I'm probably doing it wrong. I'm probably butchering it completely, but and forgive me for that. But anyway, yeah, I want to give a special thanks to Drew because he's one of the main reasons why you're watching this video, because it's one of those films I was like, there isn't much to it. There isn't much to Rough Night, which is part of why it's such a rough watch. The characters, there's not much to them. The story, there's not much to it. The comedy, there's nothing. There's zero laughs. And the jokes are of the variety where there's no setup. It's just a punchline. It's just a punchline just hitting you in the face repeatedly over and over again and being like, is it funny? Are you laughing yet? Are you laughing yet? No, I'm not laughing. I didn't laugh when you did that shit with Fist Fight, and I'm not laughing here. And when they aren't just throwing punchlines right and left without any setup, it's just random bullshit. It's just randomness and just cringe humor. Is that what the comedy genre has devolved to? Is cringe humor? Is it like I said this in the rant I did on Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. Most of the humor in that was just cringe-inducing, and I think was just bad on purpose to try to make you cringe. Is the comedy genre just cringe? I think it's just cringe and crass. That's really the comedy genre as of late. It's just cringe and crass. Cringe-inducing attempts at jokes and attempts at humor that aren't funny in the slightest, and just crass. Just dick, pussy, fart, period blood jokes, waxing jokes, all of that. It's just, or tits, titty jokes, drugs and alcohol. This is what the comedy genre has become lately, and it's depressing, and it's sad, and it's laughable on all the wrong ways. I don't get it. It just is this is it. It leaves me speechless. It really does. That this is just a continuing downward spiral for the comedy genre as of late. I mean, to be perfectly honest, Rough Night could be the poster child for how bad comedies have become. You could have a missing poster, and the missing poster itself could be a poster for Rough Night, and you'd be like, missing comedy. If you have seen comedy, please call this toll-free number. It's just one of those things that is just astonishing. It really is. Now, Rough Night is a film that is directed by a first-time director, I believe. I don't think she did a film before this, Lucia Aniello. It's not much to say about her direction in this. It's serviceable at best, but it's nothing that's really that impressive or cinematic. But her direction is definitely the least of this film's problems. When you have a comedy like this, direction, I guess, isn't necessarily the most important thing. The most important thing is the script and the way that the characters are written, whether or not they're endearing or likable, and the jokes and the humor. Because this is a comedy. Now, and the plot also has to be engaging. Because a comedy, I mean, for example, you can't have a comedy where the plot isn't engaging in the slightest and you don't really care about what's going on. Then it can become boring. And you can't have a comedy that just has jokes and no characters. And you definitely can't have a comedy that has no characters, at least no characters that are likable, that you really give a shit about, and no laughs, and no jokes that really are worth remembering, let alone retelling to other people. It's one of those things where comedy is honestly, in my opinion, a much harder thing to pull off than a lot of people give it credit for, and especially with the comedy genre of film. You got to find the right balance between jokes and story and characters, and if you don't do that, then you just have a mess of a film. You have a absolute shit fest that is really hard to sit through. And Rough Night is one of those. It's just every joke bombs one after another. Just atom bombs of jokes. They just incinerate everything in their path. They don't work. And then you have characters that are just obnoxious. These characters are obnoxious and annoying, and you don't care whether they live or die, and you really don't give a shit whether they get out of the scenario they're in. And the scenario that they're in is a huge issue when it comes to this film. The plot itself is all about these group of friends who are getting together for their good friends' bachelorette party. So they're going to go out of town and go have some wild, debaucherous party with drugs and alcohol and hot guys and all of that. And Scarlett Johansson's character, Jessica, she's the one that's getting married, and this is her bachelorette party. So she's reuniting with her best buddies, her best friends that she was with when she was in college. And the film even opens up with a flashback that shows the characters when they're in college. Pretty lazy flashback, because just these actresses dressed in clothes that might have been from that era and playing beer bong. Be a beer bong. They might as well be playing beer bong. Beer pong and excuse me. I guess just talking about this film, it just makes me physically ill, apparently. Or I just start to just completely lose my voice for some reason. Oh, that's better. Ugh. So, yeah, they play beer pong, and they're wearing like a costume, which makes it look like they're two giant pairs of tits. Or a giant pair of tits, not two giant pairs of tits, but you get the point. And they're all best friends forever, and then they grow up, and some of them remain the same, and Scarlett Johansson grows up to be some wannabe politician, and so this is her opportunity to let loose, and she kind of doesn't want to do that because of her reputation and everything, and her job, but then, of course, her friends convince her to do it, and she gets crunked, she gets jacked up, she gets drunk, she takes some cocaine, and she reverts back to her party girl, sorority girl status. Shenanigans ensue. Oh, she also brings along her friend from some college, some semester she did abroad in college. And I just wanted to kick this character through a fucking shredder, like right into one of those things, the wood chipper, Yeah, just punt her ass right into a wood chipper. Straight out of that movie Fargo, and that character is played by Kate McKinnon, who's Pippa, who is this Australian person who she met overseas and took and decided to take her with her to this the gal pal party. And Kate McKinnon is an actress who I've seen her do good work on SNL. I've seen her do it. She's been funny, but for some reason her shtick does not translate to the big screen. Every film I've seen her in, she's been atrocious. She does not know how to resonate with an audience. She doesn't know how to be relatable. She doesn't know how to play a human being. Her idea of an Australian woman is the idea that a space alien would have. An alien from outer space would probably deliver the same impression that Kate McKinnon did of an Australian woman. It's honestly kind of offensive, and it's one of those things that if I was Australian, I would probably be pretty pissed off. And I know a lot of Australians were not happy with her performance in this at all. They were like, well, what is her accent? What is that? I don't even know what that is. I don't know either. I have no clue. Beats me. But anyway, she's just as obnoxious and annoying as ever. I hated this character, and I hated this performance. And none of the actresses really do that great in terms of their performance. I mean, Scarlett Johansson is way out of her comfort zone here, and maybe that's why she took the role, but I think it was just a paycheck role, to be honest. But I don't think it was worth it. I mean, you're humiliating yourself. You're talking about, oh, what's so embarrassing about shaving your own pussy, waxing yourself, you're wearing a headband with penises on it, with pink penises on it. It's like, did you really think this one through? I mean, did you read the script before you signed on for this? I just don't understand why Scarlett Johansson, of all people, a very talented actress, decided to demean herself in this manner. Maybe she wanted to have fun. That's fine. But you're telling me there aren't any other scripts that are better than this that you could sign on to for you to kind of let loose a little bit? So, yeah, they do this party house thing. Shit goes wrong because Jillian Bell's character, she gets high on drugs. She kills a stripper. Or maybe it isn't a stripper. And then they spend the rest of the film pretty much trying to cover up the fact that they murdered this stripper, which is a huge problem with the plot. And it's also a little bit familiar because you remember that film Very Bad Things? Had a very similar plot, but Very Bad Things didn't try to make these characters sympathetic. It didn't try to make these characters the type of characters that you're like, oh, I hope they get out of this. They were like, no, these are bad people. This film tries to have its cake and eat it too, and it falls flat on its ass as a result. So it doesn't go all the way with the black humor. In fact, it's quite tame. And when it tries to be edgy, it's just ridiculous and stupid. For example, there's like a scene where Zoe Kravitz's character Blair, who might as well not even be in the movie, she adds nothing to the film except she's just there. And I guess she has some relationship with Illana Glazer's character Frankie. And another thing about Illana, she seems to play the same character in every movie. A stoner chick. It's the same shtick every film. I'm getting sick of it. Same applies to Jillian Bell, who she just plays a drunk, druggy party chick. That's all she ever does now. And it's disappointing because I saw her as a breakout performer in 22 Jump Street, and here she's in this, and she's just the same character as she was in Fist Fight. Which is, the only difference is their profession, or their job, the character's job. That's it. That's the only difference between these characters. It's the same character. Woo, I'm drunk, and I like to smoke crack, or take cocaine, and I'm irresponsible, and I say some crazy shit. That's all she is. And she's horny all the time. She's horny, and she likes to get high on drugs and drink alcohol. That's all her performance is lately. And it's too bad. Maybe she's just given up and is just taking whatever role falls into her lap, right into her pussy. Just whatever role rolls into her snatch, she's like, I'll eat it up. It seems like it. And the film also tries to have some twists and turns and stuff like that, where it's trying to be like, well, no, that's not the stripper guy. Oh, it's not a stripper, it's a criminal. And then the real stripper shows up, and then the criminal who died, his employers come in, and then there's this sort of hostage situation because they're looking for some diamonds that were hidden in the house. And then while this is all going on, Scarlett Johansson's fiance, that's how you say it. I mean, the guy that she's going to get married to, Peter, played by Paul W. Downs, he's freaking out over everything because she had this kind of, she didn't want to tell him what they did with the stripper and that they killed the guy. So he thinks that the marriage is off or something. So he decides to pull a page out of that one astronaut chick, remember in the past, who like put on diapers and drove across country to like Florida or something, or from Florida to some destination for like a few days straight. So he decides to do that. He decides to put on diapers and get a car and drive across country to try to find his wife or wife to be and try to convince her to take him back or something. And that's the other thing that's going on. And then of course then you have the typical, I don't know if stereotypical is the right word, but typical drama bullshit where it's like, oh, the friends have a falling out and they try to and then they get back together and reconcile with one another, and who really gives a shit? It's one of those things where it's like, if you want to have this type of plot line that involves murder, you need to go all the way with it. You can't pussy around with murder in a comedy. You need, especially if that's the main plot point. It's a rough night. A stripper died. Oh no, what are we going to do? The film doesn't do that. It doesn't go all the way with it. It's pretty limp in terms of its approach to that. And then if that isn't bad enough, it tries to paint things in a positive light with this. It ends up writing these characters out of this situation, so they don't learn anything. They don't learn the value of human life. They end up saving the day inexplicably because the criminals that some cops are looking for are the ones that had the diamonds and sent some stripper guy over there to the guest house, and they killed him. And the stripper, and then the real stripper's there, and then he gets taken hostage. And I think this whole bit was just an excuse for Scarlett Johansson to be action hero chick for like a few minutes, and then I guess that's kind of because, hey, she's Black Widow, she needs to kick some ass, but it doesn't make any sense in this context. And then it just irritates me so much that these characters who are unlikable and insufferable don't really learn that much, except, oh, we're best friends forever, and that's really about it. That's all they really learn, is the value of friendship, not the value of human life. And the cops let them off, and I'm like, how does this work? Like, I mean, half the film is them trying to cover up a dead body. They're trying to cover up a murder, and I'm supposed to be sitting here, yeah, I hope they get away with that. I hope these unlikable, bitchy characters find a way to get away with murder. It's a crippling flaw with the story, with any story. Doesn't matter who's casted in it, or how it's put together, or how it ends up on screen. That's a crippling blow to a story. That does not work. It's incapable of working. So this film was a failure from the start, because that's the concept they were going with. And Very Bad Things, it kind of works because it's like, these aren't good people, and you know, so on and so forth. I haven't seen the film in a long time, so I don't know exactly what happens to the characters, or whether or not they get busted or not in the end. But I'm pretty sure that film, even with its flaws, would be a million times better than Rough Night. Because Rough Night was the bathroom floor of comedies. I mean, it's dirty, it's filthy, it's been pissed on, and it's been trampled on all over the place, and there's been a lot of bad shit that's been done on it. Forgive me for some edits and things like that. There were some things I had to cut out. Some moments where I just kind of lost my train of thought because this film is just so bad. I don't even like talking about the film. That's how bad this movie is. It just makes me feel bad. And a comedy should never make you feel that way. You should never sit there and be like, this movie makes me feel terrible. No. So, yeah, that's your plot pretty much. Spoilers. I could not talk about this film without spoiling things, because that's the crux of this film's issues, is its story, is its script. The script written by Lucia Aniello and Paul W. Downs. And two writers to come up with this shit. With waxing pussy jokes, dick jokes, period jokes, a sex joke that's just I can't even believe I even saw a film that had a scene like this in it, and especially can't believe Demi Moore was a part of this in this particular scene. Her cameo in this makes her role in Striptease look like the motherfucking Teresa, okay? It really does. So, she plays like this wife of this swinger dude who's played by Ty Burrell, who they live in the house next door to the guest house, and there's this whole subplot about them trying to find a way to get the security camera footage of them trying to get rid of the dead body in the ocean next to their house, and the whole way they're going to do it is have one of the girls get involved in a three-way with Demi Moore and Ty Burrell. And because they're a swinging couple or whatever, and they're into some kinky shit. So Zoe Kravitz is tasked with doing this, and Zoe Kravitz, I swear, her only purpose, or the only thing that I think she's capable of doing in this film, or really any film I've seen her in, is to just sit there and look pretty. And I'm not trying to be sexist. I'm just saying that I haven't seen her in any film where I'm like, wow, that is a great actress. What a phenomenal actress. She looks like a fucking mannequin. She acts like one too. So she does a scene where she's supposed to have this three-way, and she does it in the most like lackadaisical way possible. And I think Ty Burrell or Demi Moore like fingers her or some shit, and then it's incredibly uncomfortable to watch. It's not funny. It's just cringe-inducing, and then it all leads to nothing because the camera was turned off the whole time. That's your jokes. That's your humor. Fingering. Zoe Kravitz getting finger banged while she rolls her eyes. Gotta be fucking kidding me. And then, yeah, so that's your jokes. That's your humor. That two writers to come up with finger banging, a finger banging three-way. It's crazy. Characters aren't likable. They don't really learn that much at the end. In fact, Scarlett Johansson's character, in a post-credit scene, she finds the hidden diamonds. So this already well-off character and her well-off husband find diamonds. So now, what? They're going to be even richer now? And then the whole thing, they're like, why was that even there? You think you're going to get a sequel? You think you're the Avengers? There's going to be Rough Night 2? Infinity Glad Hand, Infinity Gangbang. I don't. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. It's the perfect word to describe this kind of stuff. And it's also pathetic. And I said it earlier and I'll say it again, it's sad. Because this is what the comedy genre is now. It's cringe and crass. Yeah, that's your jokes. Like I said, just punchlines with no setup, awkward, weird, dumbass shit. A stupid scene where the the fiance guy, he gets in and he goes to a convenience store to go get some adult diapers, and it's all done in slow-mo, like it's some epic moment, and he doesn't get the right pair, and the 7-Eleven clerk or whatever is like, this is what you should get this kind. And then they walk out to like some rap music or some shit. I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? I mean, really? Fucking diapers? Come on. And then he takes some like experimental Russian amphetamine or some shit, and it makes him like super alert, and he comes in and saves the day later by driving his car through a wall. I'm like, that's pretty much what it was like watching this movie. It was like being in the front row seat for a fucking car wreck. So yeah, the writing by Lucia Aniello and Paul W. Downs is terrible. The characters all suck. The comedy is non-existent. And the story, it's one of those like, you really don't care. It gives you no reason to care. And so it just feels like the film is just wasting your time. The music by Dominic Lewis, what music? There's just obnoxious party music in the soundtrack. Cinematography by Sean Porter. A lot of times it looked like a travel ad. I'm not impressed. Editing by Craig Alpert, The film's like 101 minutes and it feels like it's 501. Because you have insufferable, annoying characters, which you all want to see die. You don't want to see them persevere, because why should you? And you have a comedy that doesn't make you laugh or chuckle or smile once. So, pretty much, it's you'd have to be a sadomasochist to want to sit down and watch Rough Night. It's like, of all the things you could watch, yeah, let's sit down and watch Rough Night. That's the film to go sit down with. I would say don't do that, okay? Don't waste your night or your time watching Rough Night, okay? Don't do it. It's not worth it. Even if you're a fan of Scarlett Johansson. But I guess if you're curious about it, give it a watch. If not, I do not recommend this one at all. I would say avoid this one like the plague. Avoid it like AIDS. Just don't even go near it. Don't even give it a shot. It's not worth it. It's not going to give you anything other than potentially an STD. So I got nothing else to say about Rough Night. I'm about worn out. I got nothing. Just like this film gave me. It gave me nothing, and I got nothing else to say. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. See ya.